Assalamu alaikum everyone. Hope you all are doing great. The topic I have chosen for my presentation is material evaluation. Material evaluation, as you all know, comprises of three different phases, and the first phase I have chosen for my presentation named as pre-used evaluation. Before heading to the pre-used evaluation, I want to talk about few things. Of course, in order to go for the evaluation of material, we all should know that what does materials means. So a material can be any text, reference book, activity, map sheet, book, or any other video simply you bring in your classroom for your teaching purpose can be your material. And before taking it to the classroom, you need to evaluate that material. And what does evaluation of material means? When you are evaluating your material, that means that you are understanding the potential value of that material. What is potential value of that material? Basically, potential value of that material means that the material or the book or the video which I am selecting for my class to teach, is that video fulfilling the purpose or accomplishing the purpose which I have decided for the learners? The goals and objectives are being treated well by using this material? Is that material worth using for the learners to fulfill the goals and objective? Is that material suits the learner's style in the classroom? So these are the key points which are related to the potential value of material. So after understanding the potential value of material, for understanding this, there are three different stages for it. One is the number first is pre-use evaluation, the second one is post-use evaluation, and the third is post-use evaluation. So I am going to present about pre-used evaluation, and I am going to explain you this by performing this pre-used evaluation of a certain book by myself. So in order to perform pre-used evaluation of the book, I have chosen the book which I am already studying currently, and that the book name is Testing for Language Teaching by Arthur Huggins. So as you have seen the name Testing for Language Teachers, I set the level for it because that I was conducting pre-used evaluation, and then what I did, I set the goals and objectives as well. The level I have chosen is PS Education, whom I'm going to teach the 5th semester, and the goals were that okay, I was teaching the learners about testing for language, but I wanted them to learn it by looking at the illustrations and practical examples or sample examples of the topics, so that they can derive or they can prepare their own testing questions or own samples for their students. Also, I want them to keep in their mind regarding the psychological differences, or I wanted them to prepare the test on the basis of psychological measurements. So these two key goals and objectives I wanted my material to satisfy in my language class. So what I did, how I decided or chosen, or how I performed a pre-used evaluation of a book in my classroom so that I can achieve certain goals. First of all, on top of the note, what I did, I just checked the content of the book. Content of the book was teaching, testing is problem solving, in testing writing, testing oral ability. So this content was telling me, okay, the book is worth reading, so I should consult or consider the book after looking at the content. What I did, I started reading the book, and what I found here, while reading the book, what I found that there were proper headings of different tests, just like a placement test. You could see direct versus indirect testing. So what I did, I started grading the material by myself on the content level, that okay, this content is satisfying the needs of my learners. Yes, it's satisfying needs of my learner as well as my needs too. So what I did, I kept on reading, and I started assuming might this text would contain any practical examples further on the next page. So what happened? I started reading. I kept on reading. So that is basically a non-scientific evaluation. I would tell you in the next page that how can I call it? It's non-scientific evaluation. So moving to the next page, I kept on reading and I predicted might it would provide any sample examples as per my objectives for teaching. So of course I predicted and I kept on reading the book. The written text is trying to provide me the differences that I was more than happier. Okay, my learners would able to decode different types of testing, and on the basis of differences they would be able to differentiate them. So I started predicting, and of course predictions are not always reliable. So when I moved to the next page, what I found, there was only a reader activity given here. You could see the reader's activity given here without any illustration or sample examples. There was nothing like that. So that was a bit disappointing thing for me, because I was grading a book. And why I called this a non-scientific approach, because I haven't performed any kind of experiment in my classroom with my learners. Rather, I am evaluating the book before taking it for my students as a material. So I haven't performed any experimentation. It's just a pre-used evaluation. Okay, I'm observing the things by myself. And grading is context bound. Why this grading is context bound? Though it was giving me all the content I needed, you can see this book was giving me all the content I needed, but still I was not satisfied because it was not fulfilling the goals and objectives I kept in my mind as a contest. So this book, this grading is related to the context. It is context bound. So that's why we call it a context bound approach, where we keeping in our mind the ideas, the goals and objectives, we evaluate books. So what happened then? Because I could not find any practical examples, I could not find any psychological measurements. So this approach also, we call it impressionistic approach. Why this pre-used evaluation is impressionistic approach? It is impressionistic in nature because it has opinions. On the basis of these two goals and objectives, I kept a content in my mind, the two objectives, and I evaluated the book, and I decided and I drew an opinion that okay, right or wrong, and of course yes or no, and in the favor or against. And okay, I was like 70-80% shady that okay, might this book would not serve the purpose of my teaching and to my learners. So that's why we this approach we call as impressionistic approach, because it's opinion based. So what happened? What I did, there is one important thing I would like to mention here, that there is a drawback of pre-used evaluation, that people used to go for subjective approach or opinion rather. So what happens that often in the different same classrooms, two of the teachers are using one book, and the other one is as per his own convenience, he has chosen on the basis of his or her subjective approach of one book, and that book is not satisfying the needs of the learners. And what is the point of using? So there is a dilemma, drawback of this subjective opinion, but this could be handled by just checking the reviews of people. You cannot decide one book to be not to be sufficient without looking at the reviews. And I collected reviews before picking this book. I just collected reviews, and the reviews were like this. So I just read it, that the most practical guide for teachers who want to have a better understanding of the role of testing in language teaching. So I thought, yes, okay, this book might serve the purpose, so I should consider it. And this is the way I just diminished the effect of subjective opinion in my pre-used evaluation. And as I already told that this is non-scientific in nature, that means that I haven't used this book before. Rather, I am not ready for any experimentation. I am providing evaluation before taking it as my material for the learners. So what happened next? This happened that I just checked the review of the language testing for language teachers by Arthur Hodges in the classroom. So when I just checked the book, what happened, that I just read the review at the back of the book, and that review was giving me the same understanding which I found over there. And that was that it is a better understanding and role of testing language teaching. It is a better guide for the teacher, and it has a new chapter on testing young learners. So what I desired, what I wanted my learners to achieve was not accomplished by using this material in my language class. So what I did, after conducting this pre-used evaluation, I decided to go for another book. I performed a pre-used evaluation of that book as well, and the objectives and goals I set, I applied those on that book as well, and on the basis of that I chosen and I decided another book. So before selecting another book, I performed preliminary report. Preliminary report is that report which is suggested or selected after performing pre-used evaluation. That is always a context bound approach, and then it is created by consulting different reviews of the book. I consulted reviews and I drew a preliminary report, because whenever you read a book, you pick the things. I read the content and I just liked the content. Okay, this content can be used, but okay, this content can be used some another level. So that preliminary report contains that all detail which served me and which is going to serve me in future for using the same book for some other level. So the evaluation was not wasted, rather I just kept the idea in my mind regarding this book, that this I can use somewhere else as well. This is the way I conducted preliminary report, and then I moved forward the way I told you. And this book I selected for my students to teach. Why? Because this book was serving my objectives and goals best ever. The Measuring the Mind by Denny Bursbaum was the name of the writer, and the Denny Bursbaum wrote the Measuring the Mind book on the basis of conceptual issues and ideas and psychological measurements. So it was serving purpose very well, and I just looked at different editorial reviews as well and book description. So this is the way you could do pre-used evaluations, that before taking any material in your classroom, you evaluate itself and you evaluate yourself, and then you just pick the material. So it's not that only you have to do pre-used evaluation. As I have already told you, it comprises of other two evaluations as well, that is during and after class as well. And we all know undoubtedly books are the fueling stations for all in every way. So just keep on reading the books, because they are worth reading and keeping, as you have generated preliminary report here that is going to be fruitful or helpful in future, just the way you have read and you have absorbed much content. So this is the way books are helpful for teachers and learners both. So this is what I wanted to guide you regarding the presentation. I have chosen pre-used evaluation by performing pre-used evaluation of a sample book which I decided. Thank you so much.